Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the fourth and 29 pod. This is Rob, aka Breakfast Carrot on Twitter, and this is my co-host Nate Hartnett, also known as Nate Hartnett on Twitter.
Yeah, pretty basic username there, but it is what it is.
It's easy to look up, so
Yeah,
can't go
very.
wrong.
All right, what are we doing today, Rob?
So you know what? For episode one, we could do an introduction, explain ourselves a little bit of why we're making this podcast or anything like that. Let's not do that. Everyone does that. All right, so we're just going to jump right into it. We're going to do the NFC and possibly AFC predictions for each division winner, um, and everything like that.
Yeah, hopefully we're gonna go very in depth on why we chose what we chose and have maybe an argument or two in there. Let's see. All
Oh
right,
yeah, gotta
so
love it.
oh yeah, starting with the NFC North, we're getting right into it. Who did you have as your division winner, Rob?
So my division winner for the NFC North is the Detroit Lions.
Okay, why is that?
So Detroit, they had one of the best offenses in the league last year. Their defense was much to be desired. And what did they do in the draft and in free agency? They addressed all those issues. And I think coaching wise, I think Dan Campbell is a very solid head coach. He's not the best coach in the division, but he is a very solid one. And I think if that offense stays even top 10, top 12, and that defense improves a little bit, there's no reason to believe that they don't win the division.
Right, and honestly, I'm right there with you. I also have the Lions as my NFC North winner. And I picked up on something you said right there. You said that Dan Campbell is not the best coach in the NFC North, and I honestly tend to disagree. I believe he is the best coach in the NFC North, simply because what we saw him do in 2021, or not 2021, 2022. No, it was 2021. 2 years ago, 2021. Yes. What he did in 2021 with the lack of talent on his roster and actually being able to stay afloat and showing what he can do in 2022 by almost
Yeah,
making the
but we
playoffs and absolutely knocking out the Packers and turning Jared Goff back into Jared Goff. I feel like that's the more impressive thing that he did there. Um, I really feel like Detroit, this might be a hot take, I really feel like Detroit is a lock for the North this year. I don't see a
I,
team competing with them.
I'm a very big proponent of it's an every week league, so I'm not going to say anyone is a guaranteed lock. But
Oh,
I'm
I've got a couple of
fairly
locks on this list. I've got a couple of locks.
I'm fairly confident that the Lions can win the division. It just depends on when. I mean, hell, if they lock it up in like week 15, I think that's a massive. That's huge. I
Right.
don't think it's going to come down to that. I think it will come down to probably the last 2 weeks of the season. And again, yeah, Dan Campbell's still a great coach. Don't get me wrong. I just think he is the second best coach in the division.
Who do you have at
Um,
first, by the way? I'm curious.
Matt LaFleur. Now you can always be like, oh, well, he had Aaron Rodgers, and it's like, yeah, but you know, great coaches maximize the great players, and what did Aaron Rodgers do under Matt LaFleur in Green Bay? I don't know. He won back-to-back MVPs. And that in part goes down to coaching and the scheme, and the coach does that. So
You know,
that's my only real thing. I will say Dan Campbell is definitely a coach that you fight and you die.
oh,
That entire team
absolutely.
would go to war for that man. I would personally go to war for that man. So you know what?
What a
Again,
guy.
what a guy indeed.
I do agree that LaFleur is a top two coach in the division, but with the lack of talent that Green Bay has now, I have them last in the division. I have Detroit or winning the division, and then I have Vikings, Bears, Packers. Obviously, yes, LaFleur is a great coach, but losing Aaron Rodgers is a huge deal. Their receiving room, not very good anymore. We don't know how good Jordan Love is going to be. Their defense is crumbling by the minute. Jair Alexander is really the only constant on that defense, and he might not even be a Packer for the entire season. I
Which
I
is
don't
fair.
see them getting more than 7 wins. And honestly, this division doesn't look bad. Like Chicago's improved heavily. Minnesota's was a playoff team. Green Bay still, like you said, has LaFleur. They're still a good team, just not necessarily on paper. And that is why I think I have Green Bay finishing fourth in the division.
Hey, look, our division rankings for this are very similar. Because I mean, I also have Minnesota second. Just because I think that obviously that team is still better set up than the Bears or the Packers. Even with the quote unquote lesser coaching. Um, but I do have the Packers over the Bears. I do have the Bears still finishing last, only because there is a lot of unproven stuff with the Bears, and especially with coaching. That's why I put the Packers above the Bears, strictly because of coaching. Now Eberflus and that whole coaching staff can obviously prove me wrong. And as someone who likes Justin Fields and wishes success on Justin Fields, I hope they prove me wrong, and I hope Justin Fields lights it up this year. He's got my boy DJ Moore over there
That's
now. All
exactly
right.
one of the reasons I took Chicago over Green Bay, actually, is because Justin Fields actually got a weapon. He got his wide receiver one in the offseason. And with DJ Moore being the dead set wide receiver one in Chicago, Darnell Mooney's still a dog. Claypool can do something twice a year. And I honestly think that Cole Kmet has a really big year. Fields loves Cole Kmet.
Cole
That
Kmet is
offense is going to
definitely
look really solid.
nice. Yeah, Cole Kmet's definitely be a nice sleeper. I don't know if he's going to finish as a top five tight end this season, but it
I don't
honestly
think he
would not.
finishes at top five, but I think he puts up a fight for the argument.
I mean, yeah, he could have like a Dallas Goddard level season, like
And
what
don't
Goddard was
hate
doing
that.
last
I
year.
don't hate that take. That's not a bad shout
Mhm.
at all.
But
Anything else
yeah,
you have to say
like
about the division?
really, yeah, it's honestly just coaching. That's all. Like, I mean, again, our rankings are pretty similar. For me, it's just coaching that puts the Packers over the Bears. But talent wise, definitely the Bears definitely have a lot more talent on that roster, which could end up outweighing the coaching aspect
I,
of
I
that
I
program.
will personally always take talent over coaching simply because the coaches aren't the ones on the field, you know.
Which that's a fair take. I can't really disagree with that. But
Uh, the team I actually have winning the NFC East is a bit of coaching and talent because they definitely just went to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I got the Eagles winning their division.
which yeah, I mean, I really wanted to put the Eagles to win the division, but me being a little superstitious, just the NFC East not having a back-to-back division winner in God knows how long. I mean, the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2017. You would assume they would have won the division next year, and they didn't. So, it's the same situation. Super Bowl hangover is real. It affects everybody. And again, I could get proven wrong. The Eagles could obviously just cakewalk through the NFC because it's an extremely weak division or just conference in general. Um, but I'm gonna say the Cowboys. I'm gonna say the
Wow.
Cowboys win the division. They have been one of
Wow.
the highest scoring offenses of the past few seasons. Every season, even with Dak's down year last year, I mean, they were still putting up points. And the defense is still solid. Micah Parsons is moving to edge full time, which I think will be insane. I would not be shocked if he does win Defensive Player of the Year this
Yeah,
upcoming
that
season.
just screams 15 sacks. I mean,
Oh God, yeah. And yeah, it's just like coaching wise, yeah, obviously the Eagles have better coaching. Um, I mean it's Mike McCarthy being the coach of the Cowboys. I mean, let's be real.
Sirianni, hey, give Sirianni his credit. Boy's a god.
Sirianni, hey, you know what, Sirianni, he got that dog in him. All right,
Philadelphia
that's how.
fans would, like we were saying that Detroit players would go to war for Dan Campbell. Every
Yeah, they
single
would go to
person
war
in
for Sirianni.
Philadelphia will go to war for Nick. Nick Sirianni will never drink a beer or never have to pay for a beer in Philadelphia again. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Like the only thing that would make that a like 100% lock would be if they won the Super Bowl last year.
oh,
But
yeah,
again, when you play
100%.
Patrick Mahomes, I mean, look, is there any tougher opponent than Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and to
Absolutely not.
still score 30 plus points? I mean, come on now. But yeah, it's like for me, it's Cowboys, Eagles, and then I have the Giants and the Commanders. Now, again, goes back to coaching. Falling back on the coaching thing. Brian Dable is that guy. I mean, he made the Giants an actually decent team in his first year as a rookie head coach, and they won a playoff game. And as a certified Daniel Jones hater, it did not bring me immense joy, but I have to respect the actual like on-field product, and he made Daniel Jones look half decent, you know. And they improved their wide receiver room immensely. I mean, they got Darren Waller now. I mean, that's gonna benefit Daniel Jones heavily. But again, talent wise, they're still not as talented as the Cowboys or the Eagles. So again, Cowboys, Eagles, Giants, and then coaching wise and talent wise, the Commanders are just in last place. Also, they're kind of going through an entire ownership change, and there's just a lot of stuff going on, a lot of moving pieces that I just don't think they're going to be able to get it together this year. And I would not be shocked if Chase Young gets traded by the deadline.
I wouldn't be shocked about that either. But what I am shocked about is who you have winning the division. I mean, obviously, the Cowboys are good. They have talent at every single position, it feels like. But Philly got better. Like, how do you not take what they just win 13, 14 games in the NFC and
Yeah,
made the
yeah.
Super Bowl while scoring 30 plus in basically every game, it feels like? I'm taking them to win the division once again. I just don't see them dropping off, especially because it looks like Jalen Hurts is finally getting some consistency. He had a fantastic year last year. If he can even come close to replicating that, we're talking about MVP Jalen Hurts at this point. The man was a monster.
Which is fair. Which is fair. But again, it's like
And
the NFL is not normal. It's not like math, where math is like super structured. It's just like anything is possible. So again, Super Bowl hangover. Again, that's just me being superstitious. I just see teams that lose the Super Bowl just don't just it's a track record that they just don't do as well the following season. Um, there's a few exceptions, but obviously, like on average, they just don't do as well.
yeah, as a Ravens
Secondly,
fan, tell me about it.
uh-huh, yeah, yeah. Ooh. All right, win the Super Bowl and then going 8-8 and missing out. Love it.
I want to talk about your Cowboys pick, to be completely honest with you. We talked about you not picking the Eagles. Like you have your argument there and it's valid. I have the Cowboys finishing third. I have Eagles, Giants, Cowboys, Commanders. And
If you
obviously
tell me
when we
if
were
you tell me it's about coaching and you just
I know, I
look
literally
at the
just said that
offense
I'd
of the
rather have
NFC North,
talent than coaching. And it's really not about that. Yes, Brian Daboll is fantastic. Mike McCarthy is not. That really has nothing to do with it. This, for me, is a gut pick.
ooh, okay, okay, I gotta love
I
those.
have a gut pick. I have a gut feeling that the New York Football Giants are going to be a 10-win team in 2023. Maybe like 11, 12, finishing second
I
in
don't
the
even
division.
think
I feel
I
like
don't even
they're
think that's a hot take. I feel like a 12-win Giants team would be more of a hot take, but I'd be shocked if they missed the playoffs this season,
I
to be
would be
honest.
shocked too. I was about to say I feel like they're
Like,
a
again,
lock for at
this
least a
feels
wild
like
card appearance.
yeah, this feels like another year where the NFC East has three playoff teams because
I agree.
yeah,
And it's unfortunate because the Commanders aren't a bad team. On paper, they're genuinely not bad at all. But you put them
yeah,
in say you put them in the NFC South, they might win the division. But they're
oh yeah,
unfortunately in a
yeah,
division with three other playoff teams. So it's really, really bad luck for Washington this year. Uh
it
yes, they're
really is,
going through
yeah.
their ownership change, and I mean they didn't even have the best draft. I mean, Forbes was a
It was
good pick,
it
but
wasn't a bad draft. It just wasn't that memorable, I guess.
I feel like they could have gone in a different direction than Emmanuel Forbes and gotten a better result. But
I mean, Forbes has got nice ball skills though, so I mean, I can understand it, but yeah.
I just think they have bigger needs than a slot corner. I mean,
Hmm.
but I guess we just have to wait to the season to see how that plays out.
Yeah,
Speaking
honestly.
of the NFC South, who do you have winning that division?
I have the New Orleans Saints winning the division.
Okay.
Now, the reasoning behind that is they have a proven talent at quarterback with Derek Carr. Obviously, like we know what Derek Carr's ceiling is, we know what his floor is, but like in the NFC South, it's you got Derek Carr, you got Bryce Young, you got Baker Mayfield, and you got
Desmond Ritter.
Desmond Ridder. All right, like which one of those four guys would you trust in a game the most? It's
I don't
Derek
know.
Carr.
Just wait until you hear my pick.
Look, for me personally, I got to go with my twin. All right, I got to go with the twin, Derek Carr. All right. And I think the
For
Saints,
those
for
of you,
some
hold
reason,
on. For those of you listening, Rob looks exactly like Derek Carr.
been told multiple times that I look like Derek Carr if he worked a 9 to 5 instead of in the NFL.
That's
So
awesome.
at that point, I just got to roll with it. So that's what I'm doing. Um, I mean, the other thing is like the Saints just have like that tenacity to just not. They just don't know how to like tank or lose. And obviously, they keep pushing the cap down the road, so they always keep managing to get all these decent players. And also it comes down to coaching again. I think, Dennis Allen, I believe, is their head coach. I think he is probably the most well-equipped coach in that division so far to actually do something with that roster. Um, and yeah, but again, honestly, that division is probably the biggest question mark of who's going to win it. Out of all four NFC East divisions. NFC East divisions.
NFC
Wow.
East divisions.
NFC
I see.
East division. All right. Where's my caffeine? Um, but yeah, like it's just again, it just comes back to coaching. All right. And that's the basis of most of my division picks. Obviously along with talent and stuff like that. But like coaching and QB consistency, which I think is probably gonna benefit them the most. Where I mean, you might not win a lot of games because of Derek Carr, but you definitely can in
Right.
comparison to a lot of question marks at every other NFC South team.
See, those question marks are the reason that I believe the NFC South was my opportunity to just throw out a hot take because I could not decide for the life of me who I believed was going to win this division. So I
Yeah.
did some
I
thinking.
guess.
I looked at
I
some
guess.
rosters. I have the Carolina Panthers winning this division.
Yep. I was
The
gonna I was gonna guess that.
Carolina Panthers.
I was gonna guess
And
you. I was gonna say you're gonna choose them.
hear me out. I think Bryce Young, clear offensive rookie of the year. I think he has a fantastic year this year. And they lost DJ Moore. Their weapons aren't that good. The team isn't that good. But guess what? The NFC South isn't that good.
And I
I
mean, Bryce
genuinely
Young's
think
also the most NFL ready out
he's
of all
by
like the
far
rookie
the most
quarterbacks.
NFL ready quarterback.
Regardless of size. I mean, like his mobility and like his ability to just see like just look down the field while like out of structure is not like Mahomes esque, but like it's highly impressive for
It's
someone
very
coming out
Justin
of
Herbert. The size is not there, but the way they look down the field, it reminds me
yeah.
of Justin Herbert a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I was tempted to do a hot take too and say the Panthers, but I was like, no, I'm just gonna let me just I'm gonna keep it safe. I'm gonna keep it like
Thing
not
is,
reasonable, but like for me, I'm just like you have the veteran QB, you have the veteran coach. I mean, other than Todd Bowles, in the South, but like I mean, Arthur Smith is there too, but like he doesn't do anything. He's just there. He's
see,
wasting Kyle Pitts right now. All right.
I would call this pick reasonable. I really would, because if you look at the start of last season when they had Sam Darnold as their quarterback, they were winning games. Like their defense was very good to start the season. If they can just like their defense hasn't gotten worse per se on paper at least. So
You
if
can
they
argue
can
I
just
mean, our offense has
you can
arguably,
argue
but
the
like
offense has, yes, but with a rookie quarterback, first overall pick, most NFL ready quarterback in this draft, and a defense that looked really, really good last year for a while. If this defense can perform at the level that they did last year, and Bryce Young just runs away with Offensive Rookie of the Year, which I really do think he will do,
it's either him or Bijan.
it's either him or Bijan. And I don't know if Bijan gets the snaps. That running back room is loaded, and the Falcons just aren't good. So I have them last in the division. Actually, I have Panthers, Buccaneers. I have your Saints third.
Wow.
I have the Bucks over the Saints simply because of talent. Because yes, they lost Brady, but they didn't lose like anybody else. Think about it. They still have Mike Evans. They still have Chris Godwin, who might not be there by the deadline. But as of right now, they are Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know what I mean? And then I have the Falcons in fourth.
Yeah, yeah, looking at my list, I did have the Falcon. I do have the Falcons last. I did have the Panthers third, and I had the Buccaneers second. Um,
It's fair.
it's literally just comes down. Baker is just so consistently inconsistent And regardless of who he has as weapons, I mean, we remember 2019, they had OBJ and Jarvis Landry, and they still disappointed. They had Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and still disappointed with Baker. You know, so
You
it's like he's
can't
had
put that
weapons
on
around him
Baker though.
before,
I would not put that on Baker. Baker in 2019 had a solid season.
which is
Oh,
fair. And then obviously Stefanski comes in 2020 is probably 2020 was his best season.
yeah.
Um,
Like after his rookie
and
2018 year, I can see how 2019 would be sort of quote unquote disappointing, but his 2019 season was still good enough to bring that roster to the playoffs. His coaches, I genuinely believe the coaching on that Cleveland Browns team was the reason that they failed.
true. And then obviously they brought in Stefanski, and Stefanski kind of brought them back a little bit. Obviously we can laugh at the Steelers because they lost to the Browns. You know, always great, always
Steelers.
great.
Steelers fans, if you're listening,
um,
cry.
fact. I mean that's really it though. I mean if Baker with weapons. I mean again Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Honestly, I mean look, Ryan Fitzpatrick looked great with those guys. All right, back in
Yes, he
2018,
did.
he had that like 4 game run where he was just like
Fitz
lighting
magic,
it.
baby.
So it's definitely fair. But again, yeah, the NFC South is just such a like hodgepodge of like bums. It's just like how do
Like I
you like
said,
dictate that whole thing?
you put the Commanders in that division, they win 13 games. Like
Arguably, yeah.
that division's that bad. We're gonna go to a
Um,
division that is actually very good, and that is the NFC West. So, Rob, who do you have
Another
winning the
hodgepodge.
NFC West?
I have the 49ers winning the NFC West. Um, you know, again, what have I been saying this entire time? Coaching. Kyle Shanahan is the best coach in that division. Um, Obviously in the playoffs, that's maybe a different story. Um, at the end of the day, though, you got to be a good enough coach to get to the playoffs, and you have to have a good enough team to get to the playoffs. And that 49ers roster is literally a quarterback away, as we've been saying for years, from being a legitimate threat and dynasty for years to come. That quarterback room still leaves much to be desired. I mean, they got Purdy, who might not even play at all this year. You got Sam Darnold, and Trey Lance. But everything else around them, super nice. All right, you still got Debo, Brandon Ayuk, Kittle. The defense is still nice with like Nick Bosa and all those guys. But it's the 49ers for me until proven otherwise.
I agree. I also have the 49ers, and it's simply because there's no reason not to take the 49ers. They haven't lost anybody. They signed Javon Hargrave to bolster their front seven. They, I mean, it depends on what they do at quarterback. Brock Purdy, I genuinely believe could lead them to a division win. And I mean, so could Trey Lance. I don't know if Darnold could really do anything, but
It's a very QB friendly system.
it's a very QB friendly
I
system
could definitely see Darnold being half decent on that roster.
with people like Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, that offensive line, and having Kyle Shanahan as your coach. I feel like I could succeed as the Niners quarterback.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I would maybe throw for 6,000 yards and 70 touchdowns. But anyway,
All right. Relax, Lamar Jackson. Relax, Mister 6K.
relax, Lamar Jackson. That's crazy. Um, I don't know if the rest of your division looks similar to mine, but I have the Rams coming in second, the Seahawks coming in
Mhm.
third, and the Cardinals coming in fourth.
So I do have the Cardinals also in fourth, but I have Seattle and the Rams switched. I have Seattle
I
finishing
almost
second.
did that. I almost did that, but with the way, like, the Rams just weren't healthy last year. Aaron Donald played like 9 games. Cooper Kupp didn't play basically at all. Those were
I'll
their
say
two
yes.
best
Stafford didn't
players
play.
in 2021, and guess what they did? They won the Super Bowl. And
Yeah,
also, I'm
yeah.
completely forgetting, their quarterback missed almost the entire season. Matt Stafford did not play. They had to go sign Baker Mayfield and have him have a Linsanity game on Monday Night Football. Like,
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
I believe like if the Rams stay healthy, they very well could win this division again. Like they're that talented and like Sean McVay is that good of a coach. I don't know if he's better than Shanahan, but he's up there with Shanahan.
He's definitely up there. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Him, Shanahan, and Carroll are all in their own. Well, maybe not Carroll, but him and
Well, yeah,
Shanahan are in their
like
own little.
That's why the NFC West is like its own little hodgepodge of just like everyone can either be really good or like it's pretty much like the East, except the East you can either be really good or really bad. The NFC West, it doesn't seem like anyone knows how to be truly bad except for the Cardinals.
except for the Cardinals. Yeah. You love the word hodgepodge. It's really weird.
It's my thing for today. Yeah,
Right. Uh, Seahawks in third. Seahawks over the Cardinals felt pretty obvious. I mean, the Seahawks were just a playoff team. I just don't
yeah.
see them being better. Like I feel like the Niners and the Rams are both going to be two of the best teams in the NFC this year.
They brought in JSN in the draft, and they got Witherspoon in the draft to shore up
They're
that
nasty.
secondary that needs a little bit of help. All right, and they were 9-8. It's like obviously they kind of like they made the playoffs, but it was like just barely. But then they addressed the needs that they really needed to address. Where it's like they have Geno for one more year, and Geno already looked pretty solid last year with DK and Lockett, but now he's got DK, Lockett, and JSN. Kenneth Walker's coming back. If he stays healthy, their running game's gonna be pretty solid. All right. And if Geno just protects the football like he did most of last year, they should be fine. But again, I can definitely see where the Rams could come in second, just because obviously, yeah, like you said last year, they were super, super injured, and it was insane. Um, but for me, I'm sticking with the hot hand. I'm gonna stick with Seattle at two. The 49ers, I think, is probably the safest pick out, other than in your opinion, the Eagles being the safest pick for the NFC like division winners.
I really don't dislike that pick because this is another one of those divisions. We were talking about the NFC East, where they could very well be a division that has three of the teams in the playoffs. I believe the NFC West also has that potential in a big, big way. Like, I genuinely don't believe that the NFC North has more than one team or the NFC South has more than one team, simply because those wild card teams are going to be from the NFC East and the NFC West.
The NFC playoff picture is going to be decided week 17. It's going to be there. It's going to be like there'll be like two teams that have won their divisions by then. In your opinion, it'd be the Eagles. In my opinion, it'd be the Cowboys, and then probably the 49ers. Everyone else is going to be fighting for whatever playoff positioning they can get that gets them a home field advantage, or at least a home field game. That's how I see it playing out. Yeah,
I I don't disagree. I mean, the conference isn't that good. I mean, if you look at the quarterback talent specifically in the conference, people have talked about it a lot. The AFC is like a straight juggernaut of quarterbacks. Meanwhile, the NFC really only has one or two elite quarterbacks that I can think of, like Jalen Hurts and maybe Dak Prescott. Like
no,
I
I'd say Dak's like a top 12 QB. You could definitely put him
I
up
wouldn't
there.
call him elite though, is the thing.
No, 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 no. I mean,
So
if
the
if
NFC
Jared
has
Goff
one elite
if Jared
quarterback.
Goff's like a top five QB in that conference,
Jared
you don't
Goff
really
is
have
a
a lot.
top like four QB. It's like Hurts, Prescott, Cousins, Goff are like the only
And then
quarterbacks that
Stafford, if he
stand
stays
out.
healthy, he's up there too.
And I
Yeah,
know people are going to say that Kyler deserves to be up there. No, he doesn't. He really, really doesn't. That's why we have the Cardinals last in the division. It's
yeah,
his fall off is just crazy,
yeah,
but he loves him some Call of Duty.
yeah.
Let's just hope. Obviously, we've seen some big comparisons between Bryce Young and Kyler Murray,
Oh yeah.
and obviously Kyler Murray, absolute monster his rookie and sophomore year. I really hope that Bryce Young does not turn out like that.
No, I think um in terms of football IQ, I think Bryce Young's better set up for long term success in comparison to Kyler. Not saying Kyler's bad at football, but I just think in just I would probably trust Bryce Young more to carry my team to a victory than Kyler Murray.
I
Like if
agree.
they're both on the Panthers, all right.
If Kyler Murray was the quarterback of the Panthers, I might not be taking them as the division winner. That's just me.
Right. You can call us
Um,
Kyler Murray. Here's all you want. Don't care.
amen. All right. Think we got time to do the AFC? I mean,
Yeah,
it's only
we
like
got
half an
time.
hour. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right. Our division, the AFC North. Who do you
man.
have winning the division, Mr. Ravens fan?
Oh man, I don't know, Mr. Ravens fan. Who do I have winning the division? Oh, it's the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, it is. I also have the Baltimore Ravens. And let's be honest, I'm not even gonna say that this is a ridiculously biased pick. The Ravens are loaded with talent now. The one
The
concern
Ravens
has
have
been
been like,
Lamar Jackson's weapons. You know what Eric DeCosta went out and did? Got Lamar Jackson weapons. Drafted Zay Flowers. He went out and signed Odell. Bateman should be
signed
healthy.
Aguilar as a deep threat.
Aguilar is a very slept on signing. He's wide receiver 4 in that room, and
Yeah.
he's going to be able to put up some production. And
Hmm.
the defense is still no slouch. Once the Roquan Smith trade happened last year, the Ravens had the best defense in the AFC. I don't see that stopping anytime soon. They haven't lost anybody except Calais Campbell, but Travis
But the,
Jones,
the defensive line room, is still adjusted enough that, there's a solid rotation of guys there. And I do expect a not breakout season, but I do expect a lot of improvement from Odafe now that he has Ojabo on the other side of him on the edges. And then also Travis Jones. Travis Jones is great at getting interior pressure. Him and Michael Pierce both. The biggest issue is going to be run defense, in my opinion, for this defense coming up this season. But it's not. It's going to be similar to last year. But last year's run defense wasn't great in comparison to previous seasons under Wink Martindale. But they'll still be like a top level defensive unit.
see, my biggest concern with the Ravens defense is cornerback depth. We're not sure what Marcus Peters is doing. Marcus Peters is currently still a free agent. He can either come back or he can go. I think he might go to the Giants to go play with Wink. That's my personal opinion. But the Ravens did sign Rocky Sin. That is not a bad signing. But outside of
Great
him,
season.
the cornerback
Great
room
season.
is not deep at all. Marlon Humphrey, elite cornerback, one of the best in football. But surrounding him is not amazing talent. Like the safety room is amazing. We lost Chuck Clark. We traded him to the Jets. That's not what I'm concerned about. Marcus Williams, Kyle Hamilton, absolutely beautiful. The linebackers, Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, Trenton Simpson. That is beautiful. Even the edge rushers, we lost. Actually, I don't even know if we lost anybody. We really didn't. Justin Houston, I
Well,
don't think is back yet, but Ojabo looked amazing in the last couple of games of the season. If
yeah, it wasn't
Owe
much
can
to go
just
off,
be
but it looked solid.
okay, if Owe can just be okay, because Owe has shown lots of promise, but he's also shown lots of signs of him not being good. So I really think that this is a prove it year for Odafe Owe.
Yeah, he's the same thing I used for Baker, whereas like he's consistently inconsistent because Odafe, well, he has the speed, he has the power, but he doesn't really have much else. He doesn't really have a big arsenal of pass rush moves, which is unfortunate. But at the same time, having Ojabo on the other side, I think will take some pressure off of him because the only real threat that defenses felt on the edge was Odafe. So he was doubled very often, which again, as a first round pick, you would expect him to be able to beat double teams or anything like that more successfully. Again, it doesn't always happen, but as long as you get a valid starter in through the draft, that's all that really
And
matters.
that's what he
And
is.
again,
He's a valid starter.
Yeah, Ojaba's going to take some of that pressure off.
Ojabo is going to be the best pass rusher on the Ravens this year. I wholeheartedly believe that to be true. Now, about the Bengals, because I know people are concerned about that. The Bengals are still going to win a lot of games, but so are the
I mean, both
Ravens.
both teams could. I personally think both teams go 12-5.
I could also see them tying in record,
Yeah.
and obviously we both have the Bengals and second in the division.
Oh yeah.
That's
Yeah.
I feel like everyone should have Ravens Bengals in either order as their top two in the AFC North.
Yeah.
And then after that
I
I
will
have
say, well, real quick, before we go to the last two teams
okay.
in the division, with the Bengals, my only thing is obviously having the Bengals second is the last two games they played were against backup quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson was not healthy. He did not play. In the first game that they played, Joe Burrow barely threw for 200 yards, and Lamar Jackson was playing, and the Ravens won the game. The defense, again, has stayed relatively the same for the Ravens, and they play a lot of too high. Joe Burrow has struggled against too high, and again, the numbers last year proven. And like I said, it's an every week league, so obviously it could be a completely different situation this upcoming season. But until proven otherwise, Burrow is just average against the Ravens defense. All right, and he had
The
the
Ravens
benefit, and the
defense has looked
Bengals defense,
very good against Joe Burrow, especially
and
in that Week 17 game, or not the Week
mhm,
17 game, the Week 1 game in the playoffs, the wild card game. I truly
yeah,
believe if Tyler Huntley wasn't the quarterback in that game, if put Anthony Brown in there, the Ravens win that game. Like,
yeah. And again, this is, I mean, again, the Bengals team is a solid team. Like it's a solid roster. We're not trying to discredit what Joe Burrow has done with that team, what that whole team has accomplished. But if you just look at the numbers, it's just like he just plays average against them.
mhm.
And again, the Bengals defense had the benefit of playing two backup quarterbacks back to back weeks. And the one time the Bengals defense had to play against Lamar Jackson, they lost last season. Not like it was a high scoring game because the Bengals defense is pretty nice all of a sudden. All right. But again, who won? When
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson was playing, the Ravens did.
That's also what I
Um,
have the division coming down to. I believe outside of the matchups that the Bengals could possibly win more games. But in those two games where the Ravens and the Bengals meet, it could be Ravens win both of them and win the division. And that's truly what I believe happens. I believe that those matchups are going to be what decides the division.
oh
And
yeah,
no one can
easily.
convince me otherwise.
Nope, nope. Um, so my third place team is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, same here. And then Browns in fourth.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, and the Browns fourth. Yep. Look, I will not ever stop rooting against the sex pest that is Deshaun Watson. Um, and I think the Steelers defense is better or is
The
better
Steelers defense
suited
is
to win more
good
games. This upcoming season, I think Pickett does improve. And the offensive line, I mean, I mean, their running game last year was atrocious. Their offensive line last year was atrocious. It hasn't improved too much this upcoming season, but they did
I
draft in the first round. They drafted a guy, I can't
They
remember his
drafted
name,
Broderick
but they
Jones.
drafted
Broderick Jones is an absolute monster. He was my second favorite
he's
tackle in the draft.
he's a monster at tackle, and he's also like a really, really good run blocker,
Oh, he's
which I think will
fantastic.
then obviously open up Najee for more runs, which means the defense gets a break, the offense can stay consistent, and obviously will afford them more time to make plays and win the games. Um, those two are the same as the Ravens and Bengals in terms of who's going to finish third and fourth.
I
I'm not sure. Like it could go either way for the Browns or the Steelers. I personally just think defense wins championships, and I think the Steelers defense is just better.
I disagree with that. I think that the Steelers run away with third place. I think that the Browns are by far the worst division. They're the worst team in this division this year because the Steelers almost made the playoffs last year. They were good,
This is true. This is true.
and they didn't lose anybody. They lost a cornerback, and they went out and replaced him with Patrick Peterson. So,
Yeah,
like, he's solid, and the Steelers are solid. That's another one of those things. Like, if they weren't in a division with the Ravens and the Bengals, they could make the playoffs. They could possibly win a division. They're a good team, and I wholeheartedly believe that they finish well above the Browns in the standings. They could very possibly be like a 500 team and miss the playoffs, but
hey, you know what? That's perfectly fine with me because the more losses that the Browns get, just means the Deshaun Watson contract just looks worse and worse.
yeah, the Browns, we hate you, Cleveland. We hate you.
We really do.
Very, very much. All right. On to the NFC, not the NFC. We already did the NFC, Nate. The AFC East. I feel like we probably have the same. I have the
I think
Buffalo
so.
Bills.
I'll do my. I'll say the Bills win the division.
Yes,
Yeah,
I have the Buffalo Bills
yeah.
winning the division.
Until again, it's one of those until proven otherwise, the Bills are going to win the division. I'm not gonna say it's a landslide victory because obviously
Oh,
the AFC
absolutely
East,
not.
the AFC East. I mean, Jalen Ramsey's a Dolphin now. Aaron Rodgers is a Jet. Um, so I feel like the Bills we don't really need to talk about too much because like they drafted Dalton Kincaid, who is going to help that receiver room. Obviously, he's a tight end, but at the same time, he's more of a receiving tight end, not a blocking tight end. So hopefully, him being on the field will help open up Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, even though Gabe Davis has been really, really gaining the ire of Buffalo fans, and they really don't like him anymore. All right.
Yeah, he had four
So,
touchdowns in a playoff game. People thought he was going to be Justin Jefferson.
yeah, yeah, that was a. and that was a little rough. But either way, I mean, again, we both have the Bills winning. I think it's pretty self-explanatory as to why. I will say personally, I have the Jets finishing second.
I do as well. I
Oh,
like you said,
okay,
there
okay.
really isn't much to say about Buffalo. But boy, the Jets are so good.
Ooh,
It's
like okay,
absolutely unreal to me. Robert Saleh, fantastic coach. They
very smart
have
coach,
a
yes.
fantastic roster. Their roster is beautifully built. Their
Done.
defense is absolutely like one of the most underrated defenses in football, in my opinion. Sauce Gardner, potentially the best cornerback in football.
He was a
DJ
rookie.
Reed
He was
across
a
from him.
first team All Pro as a rookie. Like
First
that
team All
almost
Pro as a
never happened.
rookie.
Aaron Donald wasn't even a first team All Pro as a rookie,
Like
and he's considered one of
Sauce
the best defensive
Gardner
players of all
is a freak of nature. Quinnen Williams, top three, top four interior D lineman in football.
time.
As a
Hmm.
Ravens fan, CJ Mosley's still kicking it as their middle linebacker, like
Yeah, when he actually plays.
when he actually plays. But their defense isn't really what moves me. It's their offense. Garrett
Can
Wilson
can
is
I,
going to
can I
be
list off that offense?
go for it,
You
bud.
got, you got Aaron Rodgers, obviously. It's like, yeah, you might only have him for 1 year, but it's gonna be a fun year, I think. All right. So you got A Rod. All right. You got Garrett Wilson. All right. Alan Lazard, who's still a solid blocking wide receiver, and he has that chemistry with Rodgers, which also really helps. I think tight end's probably their only big issue. They still have Uzama there.
They do have Uzama.
Okay, Uzama, he's a solid
I
starter.
don't believe they lost Tyler Conklin either.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of interchangeable. So you just outside of like top 3 to 4 tight ends in the NFL, you can kind of just be interchangeable
At
with the
this point, it
rest.
doesn't matter. Aaron Rodgers has never been a tight end guy.
Exactly. All right, he made Robert Tonyan a household name. All right, at
Yeah.
least in Green Bay.
And
So
now he's
those,
bad.
yeah, and so now also running back wise, you still got Brees Hall coming back. All right, Michael Carter. Who was that third stringer that had like 2 really solid games back to back? It was a Knight.
Zach Moss? No.
It
It
was
might it
a
might have been Knight.
I don't I want to
Zach
say
Moss is
Xavier
a
Knight, but I
Colt?
don't think that's his name. Um, but
Beats me.
look, the offense I think the offense is more exciting. Well, obviously than the defense.
Oh,
Um,
wait, I'm
and
dumb. I was thinking of the Bills. It is like Zamir Knight is who I was thinking of, or is who you're thinking of
yeah,
for the Jets. Yeah, he's a monster. I don't know why I was thinking of Buffalo.
yeah. But like it's I'm so like if there's any team that I'm gonna go out of my way to try and watch, if the
It's the New
Ravens
York
aren't playing,
Jets.
it's gonna be the Jets.
I was the same way
Um,
last year, and that may not be because Joe Flacco started for the first 4 weeks, but uh,
hey,
it's almost like we made a trip down to New York just to watch Lamar Jackson versus Joe Flacco.
oh man, it's like we did that or
That's
something. And then
crazy.
the following week, Flacco leads a comeback victory against the Browns.
Oh, it was
Oh
beautiful.
gosh,
Ah,
that was
peak
that was a
television.
great peak, very
But
peak.
yeah, I don't know how many people are going to have the Jets over the Dolphins, and I'm glad that you are one of those people because I genuinely believe that the Jets, like, dude, they're
I just
stacked.
don't trust Tua. That's all.
You know,
I just don't
Tua
trust
is
Tua.
also the reason I have
And
them in
just
third.
the Dolphins roster is still also super nice. Like don't get us wrong here. Their roster is so nice, and adding Jalen Ramsey to that secondary is insane. I mean, obviously, you still hit Tyreek, you still have Jalen Waddle. It's just like the biggest question mark is literally Tua. If he stays healthy, it's a completely different story. The Dolphins could possibly win the division. That is their ceiling here. But until Tua
There's
proves
three
that he can
teams in
actually
this
stay
division whose
healthy,
ceiling are win the division.
yeah. I mean, and like until Tua proves that he can actually stay healthy and like finish a season and not play terribly, we'll be fine. All right. But he hasn't been able to do that. And, this might be a situation where the Dolphins turn into the 49ers of the AFC, where you have a really solid roster and then your quarterback situation just never gets right.
Hmm. It's very possible. And
That's all.
this division is it's the best division of football at this point. Like I don't know how much argument there is there. Maybe the NFC East. I truly believe they like because the fourth place team is really good. The Patriots are really good.
And again, you still got Bill Belichick. I mean, you
You
can't
can never
discount
count out Bill Belichick.
Bill.
I just don't think that they touch the other three teams in this division. And it's unfortunate because, like I said
No.
about the Commanders, throw this team in the AFC, maybe not the AFC South, but the NFC South, they win the division. It's bad.
Again, and the AFC just in general is just so stacked, and it's like, and this is the case where I will concede where talent does outweigh the coaching. Again, you had Bill Belichick, great coach, one of the best coach of all time. Let's be real, but like
Absolutely.
the talent on that roster just does not compare to the rest of the AFC East,
And they lost
and
Nelson
that's
Aguilar, the best receiver they've ever had. I mean,
yeah. So like it's just yeah. So that, that's honestly just why. Um, but I mean, you know, instead of the NFC South, why don't we just talk about the AFC South?
I will. And the reason that I say that the Patriots wouldn't win this division is because of Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Exactly,
Because
exactly. I
they
definitely also have the Jaguars winning that division.
they're gonna run away with this division. This division's very bad outside of the Jaguars. It's quite frankly embarrassing how bad this division is outside of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Jaguars are going to be very good. They were a playoff team last year, made a comeback. Trevor Lawrence threw 4 interceptions. They were down what 30, 28. And I don't know
Like,
how
yeah,
much of that
something
I don't know how much of that is discrediting the Chargers more than giving the Jaguars the credit, but not a lot of teams would have the willpower and not a lot of quarterbacks would have the mental capacity to come back and win that playoff game after throwing 4 straight interceptions in the first half.
yeah, yeah.
And guess who they get? Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, he's coming back. Christian Kirk was everyone hated that
He was
signing at the
great.
beginning, but he was really solid.
I was
Really.
personally one of those people that was like, wow, Christian Kirk just got a bag for no reason.
Yeah, no,
And then
yeah.
he
I mean,
proved me wrong. He
everyone.
was absolutely fantastic out on the field. And I don't know how much of it is because he had T-Law throwing him the ball, but he was making plays. He was a great route runner. He was just
Yeah.
a straight playmaker for Jacksonville. And he, even with Calvin really back, Christian Kirk could very well be their wide receiver one in 2023.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I still think Calvin Ridley will be the wide receiver one, but I mean, look, if the season starts out and Calvin Ridley he isn't the wide receiver one for the first like month, I wouldn't be shocked.
It is what it is. I mean, Christian Kirk is that guy.
Yeah, if you having Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk as your wide receiver one and two, like cannot complain. I mean, they have Evan Ingram who had like a career resurgence as well. All right.
Doug
I mean, he
Peterson is
literally
that guy. Doug Peterson is by far the best coach in this division.
I was not a fan of that Doug Peterson hiring, and I have never been proven more wrong
I loved
than
it.
than that.
Doug Peterson was living this close to Philadelphia. I hear so much about how good Doug Peterson is, and
I mean, he's
saw
never gonna have to buy a
firsthand how
beer in Philly.
ever he's that guy.
Yeah.
Um,
They could
the Jaguars.
they could have went 3-13 after that 2017 season, and he still wouldn't have had to buy a beer
Oh,
because
ever.
he won them their first ring.
Absolutely. It was poetic in Philadelphia.
Hmm.
Jacksonville is the easiest take by far in this division, but what about the rest?
Coaching. So I'm going to say the Titans because the Titans have the second best coach in this
Wow.
division.
I have the Titans last.
Wow.
I know that's
So
kind of crazy,
Mike
but
Vrabel just has this ability, like Dan Campbell, like Robert Saleh. Who was the other coach that you mentioned that the players would just run through a wall for?
Nick Sirianni.
Nick Sirianni. He has that. Like Mike Vrabel just has that like tenacity to just get his players to win games that they really
Mike
shouldn't.
McDaniel is that guy too. He like Mike
That's fair.
McDaniel might be the swaggiest coach the NFL has ever seen.
I have no words to oppose that. So yeah. But yeah, he just has this tenacity to just get the best out of his players and to get them to win. And I still think, I mean, you still have Derrick Henry. Tannehill's coming back, and worst case scenario, they start Will Levis. You know, but again, the roster's not great, but coaching, I think Mike Vrabel will he will just get the best out of his players, while they'll just win games that they shouldn't.
Yeah, I have the Titans in last, and it's because of just the lack of talent. Like
Mm.
I'd never liked Will Levis. Malik Willis is not good,
Oh, I didn't either.
unfortunately. I love Malik Willis, not a good quarterback. Tannehill is just not that guy anymore. And we don't know what's going on with Derrick Henry. He's getting old. Derrick Henry has been
Yeah.
the guy in Tennessee for the last several years. And if last year is anything to show for it, that's not going to be the case anymore. And they need to find a new guy. And I'm assuming that's what they're trying to get Will Levis to be. But I don't think he will be. I think the Titans, with their lack of talent, their receiving Traylon Burks is their wide receiver one, and he did not look good his rookie year at
Hey,
all.
respect Robert Woods, sir.
No. I also don't think he's a Titan anymore.
He might not be, honestly.
Um uh, I have Houston finishing second in this division. And it's for the same
Um,
reason that I have Carolina winning the South. It's because of CJ Stroud and Will Anderson. I truly
I have
believe,
the Texans
and
last.
you have the Texans last, so we have the Colts third, both. Okay.
Yeah.
I have the Texans finishing second simply because just a change is coming. Like I believe that the D'Amico Ryan hire is absolutely what Houston needed
He
with
is a
CJ
solid. I'll say
Stroud.
he definitely seems like he will be a solid coach.
Right, absolutely. And I know I said Bryce Young is going to run away with the Rookie of the Year. I truly believe that. But I think CJ Stroud, when it's all said and done, will be the best quarterback from this class. CJ Stroud,
I can see that. I can see that.
Bryce Young is the most NFL ready quarterback, which is why I think he's going to have the best rookie year. CJ Stroud is a pure talent. The guy is a monster. And the receiving room, again, not good. They lost Brandon Cooks, but CJ Stroud can do it, I think.
Eh,
I mean, they're not going to win a lot of games because this and AFC South in general isn't going to win a lot of games outside of Jacksonville, but I truly believe they finished second. And the Colts finishing over the Titans for me is for one reason, Anthony
Anthony
Richardson.
Richardson.
Anthony Richardson.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love Anthony Richardson.
Like I personally would want Richardson to sit for the season and just have Gardner Minshew be the starter.
That's a
But
crazy take.
only because he's not as NFL ready as Stroud or Bryce Young.
I agree, but
But
he's the best talent out of them. Like
oh
physical,
my god.
he's a specimen.
Yeah, no, he is talented. That's why like mentally I don't want his mentals getting all messed up because they're not going to win a lot of games. So why throw him to the wolves immediately? Now, I'm
I
saying
think
now
he'll
if
be
they're like
okay. He was a Florida Gator. I think he'll be fine.
I mean, fair. Like if the Colts start like 0-4, 0-5, and they need that spark, by all means, put him in there, let him guide the offense and just create something out of nothing.
Yeah.
But I think at least for the first month, just let him sit. Just let him, you know, kind of let the game slow down for him a little bit, where then you can actually like feel comfortable putting him in and sparking the offense.
I get that, but I really also don't. Because my thing is,
They're not winning
let just
anything this year.
they're not going to win
That's
anything.
my thought process.
Just let Richardson go out there and get used to his guys. Get used to being out there running a backfield with Jonathan Taylor. The thought of that terrifies me. Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor in the same backfield is a recipe for just running down your throat. And
Yeah,
Anthony
yeah.
Richardson also arguably has the strongest arm in the league right now. He reminds me so much of Josh Allen. Like if he and you know who else wasn't good in his first year and his first 2 years?
First few years.
Josh Allen.
Mm.
Anthony Richardson is going to be a absolute freak in this league. We don't know if that happens this year, but he has to play. There's zero
Which,
reason to sit him.
which is fair. I always just I'm again just going with the safe approach, you know. But again,
It's
hey, you're not
Indianapolis.
going to hear
You
me
have nothing to
complain.
lose.
This is fair. You're also not going to hear me complain if he does start week one. All right, go for it.
He's awesome. You know who else is awesome? Patrick Mahomes, which is why I have the
Oh yeah.
Kansas City Chiefs winning the AFC West once again because they're never losing ever.
I mean, yeah, literally until proven otherwise, they're not losing that division. That division is theirs to lose, and they're not going to.
Let's be
It's just
honest,
simple as that.
the NFL is theirs to lose. They're
Yeah,
so good. Patrick Mahomes is the best talent I have ever seen.
Yeah. I will say this. Until the day Andy Reid retires, that'll be the first time I think I ever question if the Chiefs win anything.
Yes.
Is if slash when he retires.
The
And that's not gonna
trio,
happen anytime soon
the trio with
because
Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelsey, Andy Reid is not fair.
it's
Simple
genuinely
as
not
that.
fair. No.
It's obvious they lost their offensive. Why am I blanking on his name?
Bieniemy.
Eric Bieniemy. Yes, he went to Washington to be their coordinator, which is a wild thing to say considering I have them last in the division. But because Bieniemy's awesome. But
Yes.
this is really going to be a test. Like I have the Chiefs winning regardless. The only question mark on Kansas City this year is how much Eric Bieniemy actually meant to that offense. And I'm not discrediting Bieniemy by saying this at all. I think it's little to none. I think Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, they can get it done anyway because it's Patrick
Oh
Mahomes and
yeah.
Andy Reid.
Yeah. Literally.
The
Um
question never was who was going to win that division though. So who you
it's the
got for the
Chiefs.
rest of it? Yeah, it's the
For
Chiefs.
the rest for the rest of it, I think, it's gonna be similar to last year. It's gonna be the Chargers in second,
Yep, Chargers in second was
then
by far for me.
Bron yeah, then Broncos, Raiders.
I agree. I have Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders.
I think Chargers drafting Quentin Johnson allowed them to finally have some speed on that offense because their offense is super slow. Like they don't have a lot of fast guys. They have
Yeah,
physical
Quentin
guys, but they're
Johnson's not
not fast.
that fast though. That's the thing. If they wanted
Quentin
speed, you
Johnson's
draft Zay Flowers.
he's still also fair, but the Ravens did that. So
Amen.
in terms of speed or like just quick release and to just get open downfield, Quentin Johnson's that guy that they can hopefully rely on to do that. Um, and again, the roster's not bad. I mean, again, they literally had a 27-point lead over the Jags. They just ended up playing Trevor Lawrence and they kind of just choked it away. It happens all the time in the league. All right, choke jobs happen. Unfortunately, it happened to the Chargers.
Yeah,
I
ask
don't think it's
Atlanta
gonna,
fans.
yeah, yeah. But the roster hasn't really changed all too much. I mean, if Austin Eckler comes back to play, I mean, he's still a solid halfback in that offense. And I mean, you have Justin Herbert. All right. I mean, he's literally willed that team to more wins than I think they should have been allowed.
I agree. Justin Herbert is the backbone of that team, and that is without argument. But the question
And I
mark with
mean,
that team is what goes on with Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler.
yeah.
Because
I mean, they're not going to be as impressive, I think, as they were in previous seasons, but they'll be solid.
that's not even about that. I think because Eckler wants out, and Keenan might just get cut at this point. It's not because of his talent. I've seen everywhere that Keenan Allen will not be a Charger by the deadline at the latest. And that's part of the reason I believe they drafted Quentin Johnson is so that Mike Williams and Johnston can be their guys,
And yeah,
considering Keenan is probably gone.
and I mean that's fair too. But until the pen is put to paper or the news is dropped, Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler in my eyes are Chargers.
Oh,
So
legally,
I'm personally just going to view it just strictly as that.
legally, they are Los Angeles Chargers. Yes. I have Denver over Vegas, and you do too. This was probably the hardest decision in that division. There's no
No,
way
that
Russell
defense.
Wilson's that bad again, right? There's no way.
I don't think. Yeah, I think he plays better this upcoming season. I think Sean Payton being the head coach definitely helps.
I agree.
I'm not going to say he's going to go back to Russell Wilson in Seattle, but I think he'll be better.
You can't
And
get
I just think
worse.
no, he really can't get worse than that
He was
without just getting
so.
straight up benched. Without getting just straight up benched, you know. Um,
Let's
but
ride it.
yeah, I mean, coaching wise, Sean Payton coming out of retirement after like a year or two is still a better coach than Josh McDaniels.
Yeah. I mean,
And look, I
and
mean, Jimmy
Nathaniel
G,
Hackett.
I think would
Nathaniel
be a
Hackett was
safer.
bad.
Jimmy G is also probably a safer QB at this point than Russell Wilson if you want to run an offense. But again, I think the Broncos defense and Sean Payton, I think, boost them up above the Raiders.
I agree. And that was really close for me. I think they might tie at this point because like the
Yeah, they
Jimmy
could finish
G,
the same
Devontae
record.
Adams, they're good. Their defense is still not bad, but it's not what it should be considering you have one of the best pass rushers in football in Max Crosby. And I really do think it comes down to coaching at that point because Sean Payton
Oh, yeah.
is that guy.
He is that guy.
It's kind of crazy to me how bad Russell Wilson was, and he's gonna be lots better this year with Sean Payton. Like Sean Payton coached Drew Brees. That's all I have to say about that.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I is that it?
Yeah, that's it. That's all the divisions.
Dang, that's
So
crazy. Uh, any other thoughts? Any last thoughts?
no, I mean, hey, look, I think that was a pretty solid first episode, just going through all the divisions, you know.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
Other than that, the only thing I can really say is let's just promote the socials and wrap it up.
Hey, Nate Hartnett on Twitter, Hartnett. My name's Nate Hartnett, in case you didn't pick that one up.
And it's the same thing on TikTok as well. All right, if you're gonna ever start posting anything on there,
Yeah, no, I just post random stuff. Don't follow me on TikTok, please.
that's fair. Either way, you can follow me on TikTok. Rob talks football. Rob underscore talks underscore football. I know it's basic, it's boring. Who cares? Um, and you can also follow me on Twitter at breakfast carrot. It is carrot, but is only with one T, not two. So breakfast CAROT. Boom. It's carrot.
So you
All
meant
good.
one R, not one T.
No, no, there's two R's.
You just said
There's two R's on there.
CAROT. Okay, whatever. Anyway, this has been the 4th and 29 podcast. We hope you enjoyed. For those of you listening on Spotify or Apple Music, be sure to check out the video version of this on YouTube.
Oh, also follow the TikTok 4th and 29 pod.
Yes, 4th 29 pod on Twitter and TikTok. Yes,
That
I completely
we'll
forgot
we'll
to
work on
promote that. We'll work on
it.
that.
Yeah,
It's fine.
yeah.
All right. We hope you guys enjoyed. Uh, I'm Nate. This has been Rob. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.